into June. Welcome to summer, everyone. Well, meteorological summer anyway, the three warmest months of the year. Meteorologists, climatologists like to celebrate the seasons a little bit differently than the traditional astronomical seasons, which are influenced or defined by our orbit around the sun and the timing of that. But meteorological seasons, climatological seasons always start and end on the same dates. We like tidy record keeping. And it kind of matches up a little bit better with the actual weather that we tend to experience as well. And so on this first day of meteorological summer, it was a textbook, June 1st, almost exactly average on the low side and the high side. 51 was the low this morning, 75 our high today. 75 is exactly average for the high temperature on June the 1st. A month from now, July 1st, 82 degrees, and actually our peak average high temperature is now 83 with the new climatological averages that were released a few weeks ago, now based on 1991 to 2020. Told you I'd do a little review of the spring season now that it is in the books. Spring got off to a great start in March. 6.6 degrees warmer than the average. April was a little bit warmer than average, and then May was a little bit below the average thanks to the cool start and cool end to May. We had a lot of warmth in the middle, but the start and the end of the month were so cool that it influenced the overall numbers for the month. Precipitation-wise, a dry start to spring. We were 1.62 inches below average in March, still below average in April, although we started to make up some ground later in the month. And then May ended up being a little above average, mostly because of one day, Mother's Day, in which some of us had 1 to 2 inches worth of rain. Otherwise, yeah, the rain was pretty scarce in a lot of the month of May. So this will end up being our driest spring in 8 years, since 2013. Snowfall this spring was not exactly plentiful in March and April, but we did have that 1.6 inches worth of snow with our cold snap right around Mother's Day a few weeks ago. All right, we're into June now, and we're kind of getting into peak thunderstorm season for eastern Ohio and western PA. The number of days with thunderstorms typically ramps up in May. We didn't really hear a lot of thunder in May, that's for sure. So this year has been a below average year so far in terms of thunderstorm activity. But climatologically speaking, we tend to peak in June and July with a sharp drop-off then later in summer and early in the fall season. When we think about tornado climatology in the month of May, it's in the classic areas. Red River Valley, northern Texas, southern Oklahoma, parts of Kansas, up into Missouri, parts of the Corn Belt. Everything starts to shift a little farther to the north in June. So tornadoes are not uncommon in places such as Fargo and Minneapolis and Chicago and Milwaukee. And you'll notice eastern Ohio, western PA also in that orange area. So not only do we see an increase in thunderstorms at this time of the year, but the chances of any thunderstorm perhaps producing a tornado get a little bit higher, of course, as we go into the month of June. We've had very little severe weather so far this year, and chances look pretty small in the next several days, taking us out through the first week or so of the month of June. We'll talk about, in the near term, a couple of feisty storms will be possible on Thursday. We'll talk about that momentarily. In the meantime, it's a little quieter evening nationwide in terms of severe weather. This evening, we have no severe thunderstorm watches out across the country as of this recording. As we shift towards tomorrow and our front moves east, low-end severe weather risk, Mississippi, Alabama, up into the Tennessee Valley, the lower Ohio River Valley as well. This is the day 3 outlook from the Storm Prediction Center with a slight risk, a 2 on a 1 to 5 scale, in Philadelphia, Baltimore, D.C. I'm not going to be surprised when this becomes the day 2 outlook tomorrow if the low-end marginal risk is drawn a little farther to the west. Maybe something like this. Maybe clipping parts of eastern Ohio, western PA as well. Our sluggish front will come through at a fairly favorable time of the day, late afternoon, early evening on Thursday. I'm not going to be surprised if we have a couple of rowdier storms before the day is through. The question will be instability. Might be a little bit too cloudy. In the meantime, maybe we get a shower or two as Wednesday gets underway. I think the low-level air is still pretty dry early Wednesday morning, so this might have a hard time reaching the ground at first. But still, spritz, a sprinkle, a very light shower. I can't rule that out for Wednesday morning. A lot of the midday and early afternoon will be pretty quiet, fairly cloudy. Can't rule out a shower, but, you know, if you're going to try to mow on Wednesday, do outdoor activities, for the most part, midday, early afternoon does not look all that wet at all. I think the rain chances will increase some as we head towards late afternoon, and especially into early evening, as our warm front tracks our way. We're going to allow for showers at any point on Thursday. Best chance for thunder will be during the second half of the day, as we get closer and closer to the arrival of this cold front, late afternoon, early evening. Some showers, some storms will be around. Again, instability not through the roof, but maybe we get a couple of rowdier storms towards the end of the day. This sluggish front will finally push far enough to the east that will clear things out Friday morning. It won't be as muggy on Friday. That being said, a little upper-level disturbance is going to come through the Great Lakes Friday afternoon. This might touch off a stray shower or storm Friday afternoon. I have kept that in the forecast. I think the best chances for that will be over towards Erie and Buffalo, but even around here, I wouldn't be totally shocked if a stray shower or a storm occurred Friday afternoon. So breaking down the hourly rain chances during Wednesday and Thursday, don't forget you can get these anytime on the Storm Tracker 21 app. Low-end chances, morning, midday, early afternoon. Higher chances towards late afternoon and evening on Wednesday. Pretty elevated chances throughout the day on Thursday. How much rain are we talking about? Well, we're getting into the time of the year. We've been in the time of the year actually for a while now that, rainfall amounts can really vary in convective situations. Localized downpours can really make for very changeable amounts. But as an average, 3/4 of an inch to an inch of rain seems pretty likely. Here's a look at our model spread. Pretty good agreement right in through here. 3/4 of an inch to an inch. Some places are going to see less than that. Some places might see a little bit more if you get a couple of downpours. But a rough average, 3/4 of an inch to an inch. Then, as we've been talking about for a couple of days now, the heat becomes the story at the end of the week, the weekend, and into early next week. We've got upper 80s in the forecast, even our first 90-degree temperature. Now, officially in our forecast for early next week, we have not hit 90 yet this year. Last year, we had our first 90 on May 26th. 2 years ago, we didn't have one until the end of June. And the 30-year average date of the first 90-degree temperature is June the 24th. Last year, we had a lot of 90-degree days. We had 15 last year. We've actually had 3 above-average summers for 90-degree temperatures in a row, 2018, 2019, 2020. Our average is about 8. If we set the over-under as 7 or 8, I would pick the over again this year. Now, we're getting off to a little bit of a late start compared to some years. During some years, we've already had a couple of 90s by this point, but as I just showed you, the average isn't until a few weeks from now, the first one. So it's not unusual to have no 90-degree temperatures on June the 1st, and we've certainly got plenty of time to rack them up. And so I would pick the over at this point. I do think that summer will come out in the wash as warmer than the average, and that would increase the odds that some of those days are going to feature some 90s. In the meantime, thanks for watching tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks video. When we do this video Wednesday evening, we should have some things on the radar to show you, and we'll have much more to talk about Wednesday evening. In the meantime, have a great rest of your night.